very good evening to one and all present over here. So dear participants, revered guest of honor, and my dear colleagues and scholars, greetings from KIIT School of Management, deemed University, Institute of Eminence. A very good evening to one and all who are present over here. I'm extremely happy for the interest shown by so many participants from all over India and from across various universities for the workshop. I express my deepest sense of gratitude for taking your interest and coming over here. I heartily give you a warm welcome to our institution, even though in a virtual mode, and would seek to your presence in our campus in the future, provided things are normalizing. So even though many of us are aware about how to write a paper, particularly the technical part, but is that adequate from the point of view of a publisher? So is what is very, very essential. So this workshop, I think, will be an answer to lots of our queries. I welcome you all. So we have with us Professor Arindam Banik. I welcome you, sir, and don't know how to express my sense of gratitude for accepting my invitation on behalf of KSOM. So Arindam Banik, sir, is an Indian economist. As an eminent economist, he has earned his Ph.D. at Delhi School of Economics, University of Delhi in 1994. He holds as a distinguished professor and ACC chair professor in international finance and business at IMI, New Delhi. He pursued his postdoctoral research at Manchester Business School, Manchester, and Department of Economics, University of Cambridge during the period 1994-95. He taught at Department of Economics at the University of West Indies, KFIL campus, Barbados, during the period 2002-5. I must say that he is a recipient of numerous awards and positions, including the prestigious South Asia Network of Economic Institutions by World Bank and Global Development Network Campus Research Award in 2 consecutive years, that is in May 2002 and 2003, from University of West Indies, KFIL campus, Barbados. He has also worked as a consultant for various government and multilateral agencies, including World Bank, FICCI New Delhi, International Development Research Center, UNIDO, ILO, Indo-Canadian Cooperation Unit, GTJ, and Government of India. He has authored around more than 100 scientific articles on international economics, macroeconomics, corporate governance, and economics of development. He is also an author of several books and newspaper magazines, and is an editor of a very reputed journal, that is your Global Business Review, which is published by Sage Publication, New Delhi. Currently, Professor Banik is the director at IMI, Kolkata. I welcome you, sir. I welcome you for accepting our invitation to the School of Management, KIIT University. Welcome, sir. Our next guest of honor is Professor Sudhir Rana. Again, sir, I welcome you for coming over here and accepting my invitation, though in a virtual mode. Dr. Rana is an Associate Professor of Marketing and FPM Chairperson at the Fortune Institute of International Business. His research area includes consumer behavior, international market, and business education. He is an MBI and PhD with MHRD scholarship from Government of India and postdoctorate from Putra Business School, University of Putra, Malaysia. He has published numerous amount of articles in varied areas, particularly marketing, with Emerald, Taylor and Francis, Sage, InterScience, Web of Science, and so many. He is the editor of FIIB Business Review, which is published quarterly by Sage Publication, South Asian Journal of Marketing, Emerald, and Advances in the Emerging Market and Business Operations, published by Routledge, Taylor and Francis. He is a researcher at heart and spends all his time either teaching and in research work, and he has been mentoring young budding researchers like all of us. So if you want, you can connect to him through this mail ID. I will be sharing with you the details later on. Thank you, Dr. Sudhir Rana, for accepting our invitation and coming over here. Thank you so much, sir. We have our Dean, sir, with us, Professor S.N. Misra. He's a very eminent professor and a true academician before he was into IES. So Dr. Misra is a Ph.D. and he has done his work on the challenges before self-reliance in critical defense technology. He was in the Indian Economic Service from 1976 to 79, where he did his cost-benefit analysis of World Bank projects and handled International Development Agency DEX. He was an officer in the Indian Defense Account Service from 1979 to 2012, where he served as Director of Finance for DRDO, Financial Advisor and Joint Secretary to Indian Air Force and JS Aerospace. He has authored the Defense Procurement Manual in 2005, drawing encomiums from the Prime Minister's office. Again, I welcome Professor S.N. Misra. I would request Professor S.N. Misra to welcome our guest and to address the session. Thank you, sir. Over to you, Professor Misra.
Good evening to all of you. On behalf of Professor Achyut Samant, who is the founder of the university, and on behalf of all the faculty members of School of Management and the research scholars, a very, very hearty welcome to Professor Banik and Professor Rana. I was mentioning to Shikta that the Sunday evening couldn't have been better, because we are in the midst of a particular theme, which is possibly most critical in our academic times today, because which is going through real turbulence. Because all of us know that the classroom teaching in a virtual mode has its own hiccups. But my own experience as the Dean Research of this university for the last 8 years has been that the work of research has been possibly the least affected, except for collecting data, primary data. But by and large, we find that online research, online discussion has been very, very fruitful. So before I request our guests to speak, I thought I'll just share a few thoughts. Firstly, this university has become an institution of eminence, largely due to the fact that it has, over the last 5 years, invested very, very handsomely in terms of improving our footprint in research. For instance, the university today insists upon 2 Scopus indexed papers from each research scholar to qualify for PhD. Earlier, it used to be just UGC journals. So I must very frankly confess that this has brought in a very high degree, a very high modality of quality consciousness. In the School of Management, sir, I thought I'll just share with you that we have a research seminar every Friday where we expect our faculty members, our research scholars to present a paper which has been published in reputed journals. It could be also a working paper. So this is an initiative which has really brought in a lot of benefits. And you'll also be very happy to know, sir, that during the last year, we bagged the largest number of ICSR projects, which are basically the Impress programs. So these are 3 major things that we have done. But there are a few concerns. I thought that I'll bring it to your kind notice. The first thing that I like to mention is that the pursuit of research is still confined to a very few who are writing regularly on a regular basis. And one of the concerns has been that some of the young faculty who are from very, very good institutes like the IIT, the IIMs, I find them to be rather wary of, rather not very forthcoming about taking up research as an academic volition. This is the first concern. The second concern has been that amongst the faculty in the social sciences, there is a bit of a phobia for quantitatives. When it comes to a qualitative research, scholars sometimes are quite all right. But when it comes to research methodology, the rigor of quantitatives, I find them little wary of this. So therefore, what we are essentially trying to do is how to widen the range and deepen the depth, because that's the main concern. How do we have more people, more faculty members interested in research writing? The last thing I would like to mention is that in terms of articulation, how they write an article, in terms of the quality of English, how they articulate, there are a lot of observations we find from the examiners. So we are really very, very delighted that both of you who have done considerable amount of work in quality journals would be able to give them a real insight into how they write quality articles in journals, how these impact factors are assessed, how these H index are assessed. So we couldn't have thought of more competent and accomplished scholars like both of you. So once again, let me again tell you that how fortunate and how privileged we are to have both of you. And with this preliminary observations about the state of our research and also the expectation of our faculties and research scholars, may I request Professor Banik to kindly share his thoughts. It would be followed by Professor Rana. And we are also very, very keen to have the question hour session in place, because this is one area in which possibly the classroom teachings are not becoming very interesting. You find basically many students not really very interactive. So unlike the classroom teaching, I find the research interface has been far more stimulating. So thank you very much. And over to you, Professor
Thank you, sir.
Banik.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Just thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs. So before I move on to Professor Banik, so we have now around 120 participants. So a very, very warm welcome again to all those who have joined. So the basic broad theme of our research was in the game of research publication, where do we go wrong? So this is what we are all looking for. And all of us might have also come across lots and lots of rejection letters, which I have placed in the manuscript given. So all our queries are going to be solved today. So a very pertinent problem is, what is the problem which we are trying to figure out? So maybe because of multiple submission of paper already published in journals. Yes, serious plagiarism issues, which everybody are also worried of. Paper which are clearly out of scope. Failure to format the paper according to the instruction of the editor and the guide of authors. Inappropriate or no suggested reviewers. Inadequate response to reviewers. Inadequate standard of English. And resubmission of rejected manuscript without any revision. So these are multiple queries which are also coming in with many of the participants who are present over here. So is it that it is only me? Why me? No, it is not only me. There are many who are yet struggling with this. So maybe the personal reason, you may say, that for getting PhD, or might be getting funding, or for your job, or anything else. But these are, my dear friends, your personal reasons. Editors are not going to listen to your personal reasons unless and until they suffice to the meaning of the journals which they are looking for. So let us hear from what are our editors looking for. From the eyes of our editors, we have two eminent editors, eminent personalities before us, who are the most precious resource of a journal, practicing scientists, even leaders in their own fields, writing, teaching for journals in their spare time to contribute to science and engineering, These are the scientists, not just like you and me. A special quality is needed to be a kind of editor and make your life easy by preparing you well. So this workshop will tell you how. So let us hear from our eminent resource persons. I welcome you once again. Over to you, Professor Banik. What are your thoughts in terms of basic general queries which comes across? There are multiple journals. Specifically, I would like to know about the various highly indexed journals, how to track those journals, and particularly from the point of view of an editor or for a journal requirement, what are the things which a researcher should be careful about? Over to you, Professor Banik.
Thank you, Professor Misra and Dr. Shikta Singh, my colleague, Dr. Sudhir Rana, and the participants, researchers. So I'm also grateful to KIIT for giving me such opportunities, and I'm sure it is my privilege that which I try to do something given my knowledge is concerned. Host disable attendance screening sharing.
Sorry, yes, sir, you can do.
Just 1 second. What I do now, I'll first discuss the issue relating to some concept, and ultimately this concept I'll be using when both of us will be integrating the concepts to understand, as Shikta has rightly mentioned, that how to identify good journals and how to enter into that system, so that despite the fact you may be a new researcher, you are not frustrated. So what I'll do, first discuss the issue, the impact factor. Impact factor is actually a journal impact, is, I have taken straightforward from the Wikipedia, which is actually reflects average number of citation that articles published, citation and article published in the last 2 years in a given journal research. It is frequently used as a proxy for the relative importance of a journal within its field. Journals with higher impact factors are often deemed to be more important than those with lower ones. So I have discussed this concept, what is actually impact factor. In other words, articles, when they are cited, published in a given article, in a given journal, during the period of 2 years, how they are cited, that's actually Scopus criteria of defining the impact factor. When you talk about another benchmarking, which is now, it was earlier known as Thomson-Reuters. Now, Thomson-Reuters is actually acquired by Clarivate Analysis, a UK-based firm. So we call it Web of Science. Owner of that firm is actually Clarivate Analysis. And they have medical citation index, they have engineering citation index, but since it is a management area, we will be talking about social science citation index and how they actually calculate the importance of that particular journal. Now, social science citation index contains over, this is the important factor, 58 social sciences discipline as well as selected items from 3,500 of the world's leading scientific and technical journal, more than 9.37 million records, 120 million, 22 million cited references in the clarified analysis so far social science citation index is concerned. Then they have the expert in-house editors use a single set of 28 criteria throughout the journal selection and curation process, divided into 24 quality criteria and 4 impact criteria. The editors select the most influential journals of their respective fields for the social science citation index. Now, important point to be mentioned here, so for management journals are concerned, if you take the Web of Science and then recognized journals in the management area, in the Indian context, we have only 4 journals. First is IIMB Business Review, Management Review. If you talk about the ranking, then first one is actually the famous journal from the IIT Delhi, Global Journal of Flexible Management. Then you have Global Business Review, then you have IIMB Review, and then you have Entrepreneurship Journal, which is actually an organization from Ahmedabad. These are actually Web of Science journal in the Indian context in the area of management. But most of the journals, they have 2 categories, clarified analysis. One is the social science citation index. The second is in the emerging social science citation index. They have incorporated all 4 journals, the journals I have mentioned now, under this category, but they are in general Web of Science journal. And they introduced this concept in 2015, added over 7,800 titles, back files dating back to 2005, included emerging source citation index, covered all disciplines, 3 million records, 74 million cited references. Emerging source citation index contains quality publications, and as I said, all Indian management journals defined by, I repeat what I said, Global Journal of Flexible Management, then Global Business Review, then Entrepreneurship Journal, and IIMB Review. They are part of this ESCI index, which is as a proxy known as Web of Science journal. Now, we'll talk about Scopus when we talk about basically we're defining the concept and how quality are related. Then we will go to visit the respective sites and how to interpret those things. As I said, my aim is actually at this stage how to find out a high quality journal in the Indian context. Now, you must be knowing Indians' criteria, that is NIRF, of selecting good journal as a proxy of high quality. They believe in Web of Science journal and Scopus listed journal. These are the 2 criteria that journal will be considered as high quality if they are under Web of Science and or under Scopus listed journal. I have defined what is Web of Science. Now I'll be talking about Scopus. I'll be visiting the Schemago site. I'll define how to relate those concepts. But let's see the definition. It is a measure of scientific influence of scholarly journal that accounts for both the number of citations received by a journal and the importance or prestige of the journals where the citation come from. Higher SGR value are meant to indicate greater journal prestige, which is nothing but the Scopus listed impact factor. Various categories: finance, accounting, they have management, international business category. There are 3-4 categories of journal. In the Indian context, Scopus listed journal in the management. Again, the first one is actually IIT Delhi's product, which is Global Journal of Flexible Management. Second is entrepreneurship journals published by SAIS from Ahmedabad. Third is Global Business Review. And the fourth is IMB Review, in Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore Management Review. They are the journals under this category. As I said, the 4 management journals, other journals also Scopus listed. Recently, they have considered Scopus journal recently. I mean, a few months before. IIM Ahmedabad journals, Vikalpo they have taken. They have also taken IMI Kolkata's journal Studies in Microeconomics in this category. But these 2 journals I have cited, they are not under Web of Science, but they are under Scopus listed journal. India's famous journal, Economic and Political Weekly, is a magazine, but considered as a journal also. It is under Scopus category. I will show how they are related. But Economic and Political Weekly is not part of the Web of Science journal. As I said, what I said. So, but management is concerned in the Indian context. Scopus listed journals, there are 6, 7, but Web of Science accepted only first 4. And first 4 I have defined. One is Global Journal of Flexible Management from under International Business category. Second, they have taken Entrepreneurship Journal published by SAIS. Again, under Scopus category, second journal. Third is Global Business Review published by SAIS. And fourth is actually Elsevier journal published from IMB, I mean in Indian Institute of Management, Bangalore journal. These are the 4 journals, top rated journal in the Indian context, so far Scopus is concerned. There are 3-4 journals also in the management, I have mentioned Ahmedabad journals and others, but they are not important from the researcher's point of view. I will define what is actually Q1 and Q2 factor at the next slide. When you visit a journal, you always find the H index. H index is defined as a maximum value of H that the given author journal has published H papers that have each been cited as at least H time. The index is designed to improve upon simpler management measures such as total number of citation of publication. The index works properly only for comparing scientists working in the same field. Citation conventions differ widely among difference. Now, if I say journal is H index is 150, for example, that means 150 articles of the journal has received more than 150 citations. Considered from the researcher's point of view, they have also H index. From the journal point of view, they have also H index. So when it is journal, then you define this way: 150 article of the journal has received 150 citation. Individual researcher H index is concerned, a particular article has, say, a H index of Dr. Shikta Singh is 10. That defined by an article of Dr. Singh actually cited 10 times in a given period of time. Now, in this category, there are Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. We'll shortly visit the Schemago site to find out how things are going. Q1 journals are top 25 journal in particular field, top 20 globally. Then Q2 is actually from 25 to 75, next 50 percentile. Then you have Q3, next percentile, 75 to 100, and something like that. Then you have the next percentile. Important point, Indian context, Q1 journals under Scopus category, management is only and only Global Journal of Flexible Management from IIT Delhi. If you are talking about the next percentile, which is Global Business Review, this is considered as Q2 journal. Q1 and Q2 is important from the researcher's point of view, how to find a journal. Q1, Q2 journals are considered as top quality journals if you are going by Scopus categories. Rated very high, Q1 and Q2 journals. Q3, Q4 are considered as not stable, means new journals, not having any regular frequencies, delayed publications, and some other issues. So they are actually Q3 and Q4. So in other words, if you see the publication time, when they are launched, for example, Q1 Journal of Flexible Management published by Elsevier long before. But interestingly, journals such as Vikalpa or Economic and Political Weekly, they published when they are launched about 50, 60 years before, Ahmedabad maybe 30, 40 years before. But they are unable to maintain the regularity. And because of that reason, according to Scopus, they are not part of the Q1 and Q2 criteria. That's important. Although we have mentioned longer the time, better the value. But Indian context, it is not the case. Then we'll explain Web of Science. We have already mentioned Web of Science journals. What is actually clarified analysis, how they calculate the impact factor. And important point to be mentioned, Scopus is actually open access, means anybody can visit the site and find out the journal and quality. So you can decide accordingly if you are opting for Scopus listed journal. But Web of Science is actually membership based and very expensive Indian perspectives. If you want to acquire the master list, it's very expensive. Some select libraries are actually having this master list. I mean, they pay regular contribution and they get the list. ABDC is another listing criteria, Australian Business Deans Council. Open access, you can access openly, not membership based, and this is exclusively business and management based. Now, very interesting picture here. If you see that I'm talking about since Indian journal ABDC criteria, about now this year they have taken 3 or 4 journals in this category. B category management journal according to ABDC is only IIM Bangalore's journal, B category. Rest are defined by Global Journal of Flexible Management, Global Business Review, IIM Ahmedabad Journal, Vikalpa, MDI Journals, Vision, IMI Kolkata's journals, Studies in Microeconomics. Then you have IIM Kojiko's journals. They are under this category, ABDC category. Interestingly, ABDC actually not considered globally a standard benchmarking. I repeat what I said. ABDC is actually talking about A star, then then double star, B minus, all kind of stars they have created, the categories they have created. But globally, it is applicable to only Australia and New Zealand. But interestingly, ABDCs became highly popular in Indian context. Most of the IIMs and IITs, some unknown reason, I say unknown reason, they follow ABDC criteria. Despite the fact, NIRF has clearly mentioned that we believe in Scopus criteria, not ABDC criteria. As I said, some unknown reason, ABDC is actually religiously followed by Indian leading management and engineering universities. Then you have ABS. They have 5 categories, L1, L2, L3, L4, L5. This is also open access. What I said, except Web of Science, all are open access. Web of Science is a membership based and is highly expensive. Finally, Norwegian Register for Scientific Journal, this is another criteria. But most of the journals who are actually under Scopus category, they are also under Norwegian Register for Scientific Journals. So this is basically the concept of global listing, how to define, how to go about that. And I have explained that the journals and the category. What I'll do now, because I have another slide, it will take a lot of time, but it will come in the form of question answer. I'm not going to difference between Web of Science and Scopus. I have created 10 slides there, but it will take time. Let's talk about some practical sites. I'm now visiting the Web of Science, and not Web of Science. Web of Science is membership entry, so I cannot enter there. I do not have any membership there. But Schemago or Scopus criteria is actually open access based. So I'm visiting the Schemago site, and I will explain what are those to be interpreted. So একটা স্লাইডে যাব আমি এখন, ওটা খুলে রেখেছিলাম আমি, না এটা না।
So
Yes.
yes, sir. So pertaining to this, if we can take up any questions.
Yeah, yes, no problem, no problem. Yes.
So I invite from the participants any questions pertaining to this. Just keep it for 10 minutes. Again, I will move on to Professor Sudhir Rana, sir, for taking up. So any questions related to this?
Okay, okay. I have seen one quality assurance higher education curriculum, downloadable publication, ResearchGate. Let's see, what are the questions?
Any questions from the audience as till now?
Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma'am. Am I audible?
Yes, yes, you are audible.
I'm Sunita Chaudhary. I have one question actually, sir discussed very valuable information regarding the different types of journals that we are always targeting to. The question is how we can make our paper accept in those journals.
Professor Banik.
I expected that most of the question will be coming in this form because both of us are actually editors. Then first we thought that you should have full information about the benchmarking or listing. Then how to select journal, that this journal is actually ideal platform for you. I thought that one. That's the reason I mentioned 4 quality benchmarking. Now this is the right question you have asking, that if you are assuming you have selected a Scopus listed journal, then what are the criteria that are accepted? Now, different journals, for example, I can talk about global business point of view, review point of view. I can explain some of the most popular Scopus listed journals point of view. For example, I'm sure definitely you are going for foreign journals. It is perception. If you believe that I'll go A star according to the ABDC criteria, then you have to find out the ABDC journal, that A star criteria, I'm definitely ABDC criteria, A star journal should be plus of the Scopus criteria. Now, when you actually write a paper, if you are targeting high impact factor journals, because the journals I have cited, Indian journals, impact factor according to Scopus, for example, which is Q1 journals, top 25 in the world, Global Journal of Flexible Management, IIT Delhi. Their impact factor is, according to Scopus, 0.84 or 85. India's ranked one management journal, impact factor according to Scopus 0.85. So if you are targeting that journals, basically you have to find out what are the criteria they select papers. If you read randomly any paper, you can find out how they are explained. I will also explain that one. India's second Scopus listed journal, Entrepreneurship Journal from Ahmedabad. The impact factor is about, that one is a Q1, this is a Q2 journals. Perhaps 0.54. Global Business Review, impact factor is 0.45. Bangalore Journal impact factor is 0.40 as on 2019 data. I can show you now, if you allow me, I can visit those sites and find out. Now, do you think you are actually going for that kind of journal? You are targeting Indian journals? Then I'm giving you a background of Global Business Review. More or less we follow the similar practices. Now, when you are writing an article, assuming this article is actually empirical article, you should have, first, the editor's focus is actually, I'm sure my friend Dr. Rana will explain it in details. But I'm giving you some highlights, how we plan. When I receive the article, in a calendar year, we receive about 1,200 articles. This year, because of the pandemic, we have received about 1,400 journals because the submissions are quite significant this year. And in a year, we select only 60 or 70 articles of the total 1,200 on average. So rejection rates are very high. The editor is actually looking into one, first, the data, methodology, data source, very, very important. We go straight into the methodology, that how you have arrived at your analysis and finally conclusions. One, how you have designed the reviews and finally gaps, and how you have that has perhaps lead to your objective. In other words, if you see the articles, what you feel is a standard format. An article should have abstract, an article should have introduction, an article should have at the end part of the introduction how sections are actually defined. Means what? Section 2 define methodology, section 3 define analysis, something like that. This is a standard format. Followed by review of literature. Related literature. What are the gaps? Gaps defined by maybe. Suppose you have someone that has done something related to production function, some agriculture in Odisha's condition, but someone trying to do West Bengal agriculture using same production, Cobb-Douglas production function. So it's a new research. You can easily argue there is a gap. It was practiced or applied in Odisha, not in Bengal. So this is a kind of gap you are creating. Years, crops, someone has considered paddy, you have considered wheat or some other crop, something like that.
The level of techniques and all those.
Yeah, techniques and all that. That's gaps. And then actually we talk about how to rationale them. Why these objectives are important for you. This is very, very important. The moment you are writing the objective, you should have the rationale, why it is important to incorporate. As a proxy, we call it theoretical framework. Global Business Review strongly believe in theoretical framework. Without theoretical framework, we have been advised by the sales expert team not to accept it. You should have a strong theoretical background. For example, you have planned the Cobb-Douglas production function. Y is the function of y, x1, x2, x3. Some are behaving positively, some are positive negatively, some are insignificant. Give the rationale why they are part of your story defined by empirical exercise. So in common language, in Hindi language, we call it Wokshop. The story you are creating in the name of theoretical framework, you are actually creating a story. And then this story is actually you are verifying with the help of your empirical model.
Yes, sir.
Maybe case analysis, maybe empirical exercises, econometric model, or some other things. And then data source is very important. In the context of Global Business Review, most of the journal, if you see, if it's something you can mention that this article is based on some online questionnaire actually shared with the interviewer, most of the cases, it may not be accepted. Because they are concerned about the same sample framework. It's very, very important. For example, Global Business Review, if you say that this exercise is actually based on design questionnaire, which was actually shared with the prospective respondents, and then final. That means you do not have any statistical methodology or framework how to design the samples. Certain journals will religiously follow what are those methods, how you have actually collected data. This is very, very important from the journal perspective, the data source. Quality of journal, data source, method of collection. It's very, very important. That's actually primary source of data collection. Second, if you have done something on secondary sources of information, means published data, some data you have taken from NSSO, National Sample Survey Organization, some data you have taken from CMI database, some data you have taken World Bank indicators. The journal editor will ask you, fine, you have taken data from different sources. But then in briefly you mention what are their methods of collection. And then are the data comparable? And you have to write something on that, convincing the reader that yes, despite the fact we have taken data from different sources, but they are comparable. This is very important. Then your empirical model, define the variables, analysis, and then since it's a management journal, editor will feel that yes, you should some kind of comment on managerial implication of the findings you have. Then if you have the sources of fund, you mention that fund, journal can ask you, give the copy of that those who have actually funded your project, they have given you permission to publish it. That is important. And then references and all that. These are more or less the criteria we take while selecting a paper, so that, journal has different stages. When you're submitting, say, sales track, a paper, it is editor's job to see the paper. Basically, I repeat what I said, methodology, objective, rationale, theoretical framework, are they strong enough? If editor is convinced, then this journal straight away going to the 2 reviewers, minimum 2 reviewers. And the reviewers' comments are coming. Mostly when editors is actually passing on to the reviewers, rejection rates are very less. So passing the editor's table is very, very important criteria. So what? Scopus listed journal publication is concerned. And I'm confident they are also applied to other famous listed journals. So that's the question I have. I have taken a little more time to answer it, but I thought it is appropriate.
Thank you so much, sir, for answering the question. Now we will move on to Professor Rana. Professor Rana is here.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Welcome, sir. So just apart from those other aspects related to the journals, certain pertinent crux issues which researchers look for. So we just want to hear from you. So what are your views? What are your opinion related to how does a researchers, or what are the basic niche areas a researcher would look into for going for publication? Over to you. Yes, Professor Ba. It's visible. Professor Sudhir, can you unmute yourself? Not audible. Yes, Professor Rana.
Thank you. Yeah, just trying to say you how to unmute me. Thank you so much, Dr. Shikta, for taking this initiative and having us there. I really admire efforts of you and KIIT for bringing this platform to many of us. In fact, how do I look at it is I look at a learning platform, being myself as a scholar, not just an editor. And I'm going to share certain things that how my journey looked like. What did I travel? Starting like I'm thanked to my senior panel member, Prof.Arindam Banik, who laid the foundation of different journal rankings from different point of views. He already mentioned from Q4 to Q1, I being a scholar has published into all the categories, whether if we talk about ABDC touched up to A star A, and if we talk about Scopus ranking touched to Q1. So what did I learn? I'm gonna share that. First is a big question, and what things come into a beginner's mind is from where do I start? I see a number of publishers, I see a number of rankings, see a number of people saying and claiming different scientific rigor for the publishers and journals. And that's somehow confusing somewhere. Where should I go for ABDC? Should I look at Scopus, ABS, or should I choose the publisher? How do I find the right fit? Scopus is more universal, no doubt about it, but what does matter when we start that how do we go? Something that one should always be prepared with is that what you're targeting. If I talk about academia, and as Professor Misra has mentioned in the beginning, that many of us are not continuously involved into the research activities. Here I would like to point it out that what do we gain out of it? Academia has different three focuses: knowledge creation, dissemination, and acclamation. Having said that, knowledge creation has been the most prominent aspect. And how do you make that knowledge reach to academic global academic world is something which is really important. But when you try to do that, it's not an easy job. It's very tough, and it's a roller coaster ride. There, what matter for you is you need a proper planning. Without planning, you cannot even have a chance to get into the review by any of the top tier journal. Our manuscript will be totally rejected. Second is that from the point of view, when you plan, you need to develop your expertise, and slowly, gradually, you'll have to keep on sharpening them. Third, let me reveal something. That's how journal rankings come into the when journal have more diversity in terms of authors, in terms of institutions, in terms of the countries that journal publish to. Therefore, collaboration become important, and it becomes really important for those infancy stage scholars who are targeting for a journal which is high on the ladder to which they have reached. No doubt, it gives you a lot of learnings that you need to learn continuously from, and you need a lot of hard work and patience. So be ready for that. Then let me give you some just that what I'm going to discuss with you. I'm going to discuss with you some common pitfalls. I'm going to give you some idea that how do you sail through into the kind of journals that Professor Banik has mentioned. Then I'm going to discuss that how responding to a review is important for you really. How do you deal with the rejection, and how do you get inside the head of an editor and reviewers? That is something that every one of us look for. I have a very simple question. What do you choose first? You choose a journal, or you choose a topic? You may like to answer to my question right here in the chat box. I'm reading your answers. So my question is, what do you choose first? What do you select first? Whether you select a publication outlet or you select the journal first. Topic. Oh, wow. Okay, so you select the topic first. Let me give you a different idea. Journals are nothing, but they are the common forum of like-minded people. Like you choose your own community to go according to your hobby. Somebody who likes music, to go to the music class. Somebody who likes dancing, go to dancing. Somebody who likes singing, go to singing. Somebody who plays hockey, play hockeys. Same way journals are. They host the discussion by the scholars who share the common interest, and that understanding is much important. So you need to understand that the kind of journal that you're choosing, are they related to the topic that you're interested in, or they're not? And what I always do is I keep a bifurcation into the journals. That how did I reach into the journals which are more aspirant journal that I have published, like a strategic management of journal or the Journal of Business Research I have recently published with. So I keep two kind of journals into my kitty. First kitty is the aspirant journals from where I read, and the second is where I see that is that the journal who would like to publish and share my views to the readers, and do they have the kind of readers that I'm looking for. Let me demystify many of the scholars looking here that is having a good hands-on into the empirical practices and methodologies make us reach there. My take is no. Trust me, I'm very bad into empirical analysis. I know the basics, but when it comes to perform a high level of statistics analysis, I'm not good with that. But could I not reach there? I could. So what do you need is you need to identify the kind of publication outlets that are ready to host the work that you do. And that is more important. Okay. So moving on, what do I look is I bifurcate to all what Professor Banik has said into three categories. First is the publisher, second is the ranking, and third is indexing. I do like look at it like I need somebody to read my paper, and I want more and more people to read my paper, and only global publishers can do that job for you. They can make your paper available to global academic community. That is the first important thing that you look for, because knowledge creation and dissemination is the first important aspect that we being academician look for. Second is the indexing. Indexing comes like more of a quality parameter for the journal, no doubt about it, whereas ranking comes like branding into it. And if you get all the three together, that's the fabulous thing that you get. I mean, that's a fabulous deal that each one of us look for. So the minimum standard I keep is that it should be an international publisher, should have a minimum ranking, should have a minimum level of indexing. This is how do you choose your first go. You may not be able to have a A-star journal published from elsewhere, have a Q1 ranking in Scopus. It's a very difficult job, and specifically that can trouble you, demotivate you, because you may have a number of rejections in the beginning. So therefore, how do you progress slowly? Look certain things. Choose adequate publisher, choose some minimum level of ranking, choose some minimum level of indexing, and then give it a try. That is the best way. And something else I would like to share. One, I heard many of the scholars saying that I write for practitioners. Some would say that I write for academics. That's always contradictory. Contradictory in the sense that you are sending a manuscript. I, being an editor, receive a lot of manuscripts stating that this is more use of practitioners, this is more use of companies to develop their policies and all. Trust me, the good journals look for the simplicity. Are they serving to the practices? Are they serving to the policymakers? Really? The journals? And I doubt. I mark a question mark there. That's who is the audience. If the audience is academia or research people, then your manuscript should be positioned to them. And if a journal's audience, like for example, it is MIT Sloan Business Review, this or Harvard Business Review, their target is more of the corporate people, policymakers, and executives. There, your paper has to be much simplified. Methodology may not be required there. So different journals have different expectations. You need to plan it. That's what is the community that you like to enter, and therefore choosing the right bucket of journals become important for you. Okay. So what happened? How do you decide? Once when I said that you need to really think that where your paper can get acceptance. Do really your paper have a word to get into a Q1 A star? Do your paper have a weight of getting into Q4? I mean, that is something that you need to do that, need to look into. And how do you do that? Only thing that you can decide is by reading. No other shortcut or alternative can make you reach there if you do not read. So my one first suggestion is either you are targeting any of the journal, irrespective of ranking, irrespective of indexing, you must read some papers from there, and at least a few recent issues. What this will give you an idea is, this will give you an idea that what kind of discussions are being admired or taken by those journals. One. Second, they almost follow the common reviewers. I'm sure that some of the reviewers who are serving to Professor Banik in Global Business Review must be serving to me, and maybe to any other journal. So they have some outlook here, that's something minimum that they are expecting. And the same game is with the different other journals. You need to make sure that each journal having the same kind of bandwidth in terms of the reviewers, topics that you are looking for. And there is, as I'm repeating it, there is no shortcut. You need to read. So don't be hesitant. Read both the bucket of journals, the journals from where you get aspirations and the journals where you think you will actually have a break of publishing. I really doubt that when somebody say that is something new that I brought, it is something new that I'm doing it first time. It is something that has never been discussed in the literature. And specifically into the top tier journals, that is something that puts the editors and reviewers off. They want you to acknowledge the contribution being done in that domain till today. Okay, so never say that this is something you only investigated. It may be probably new to you, but the foundation may be much deeper into the ontology of that domain. So you need to actually be very wise, straight, and honest in saying that, okay, this is something that I have done. This is something that I have taken. And you need to really acknowledge to the people who have done a hard job in that particular domain. Where your contribution come into the picture is that how you make a contribution into that conversation. Are you going to criticize that? Are you going to compliment that? Are you going to solve a puzzle? Are you looking at the inconsistencies? Are you looking at bridging certain gaps into the literature? That is far more appreciated by the reviewers. But if you say that this is something new, they may not like it. They may say that, okay, this is interesting, but sorry, we cannot hold something new that we do not have an audience for. Then you need to have certain things when you want to when you want your manuscript to pass the desk. Of course, are certain things which are very, very common is you look at the guidelines. Your manuscript should have a very interesting story. You should have a good context analysis, or it should not be poorly structured or written. These are very, very common pitfalls that any author would like to avoid. But let me tell you something, that you need to really submit a very, very clean version. Something that puts off through the editors is when they find that you're not a reader of the journal. You have not carefully looked at what journal has been discussing about and the guidelines the journal has given. This is something that puts editors really off, and they do not like to pass any manuscript from the desk which do not have proper adherence to the submission guidelines. So you need to be very careful, and trust me, if you're a reader of the journal, you'll not do that mistake. You would know that what kind of citation style, what kind of structure, what kind of references, what kind of declarations, tables, and the proper flow of the manuscript that journal is publishing to. I'm just giving you a hint that every editor have an initial evaluation. Every journal have an editorial desk where most of our editorial assistants and associates, they screen the journals, and they screen the journals on basis of common guidelines. If you have anything exceptional, for example, I had a manuscript which was to send to International Journal of Organization Analysis. It's an emerald journal, and my manuscript was properly from the theme where manuscript call for papers was there. It was ditto on that, but it was lengthy. I was afraid that if I'll cut anything short out of it, I'll lose on the publication. And I may also not be able to put to the readers what actual scenario is. So what I did is I got in touch with the editor-in-chief. I asked him that, Professor, this is my manuscript. This manuscript is lengthy. He granted me the permission. I submitted the manuscript, and manuscript sailed through. So if when you look at the initial checkups which are required, and if your manuscript is not matching, please do not submit without having an acknowledgement from the editor to whom this is being submitted. Because if this is not in their knowledge, they are not going to make your manuscript pass the desk. Remember a certain things, that how your abstract would look like, how your uh, structure of the manuscript would look like, how your, whether the tables and figures should be given within the text or given as a separate file. Please do remember all of that. One of the common thing which I have seen specifically by participating as an author and reviewer into certain journals, I understood that many journals, they follow American English and the British English, and we make a common mistake there. We do not take care of that. That okay, oh, this journal follow the American English, so I need to take care. This journal follow the British English. This is one thing which we do not realize while submitting, but when we get this manuscript back from the editor stating that you did not follow the English pattern standards that my journal look for, and that make an editor to believe that you are not the regular reader. One. Second, you made the manuscript not for that journal exclusively. Third, that you are a casual scholar. You did not pay serious attention to every minor aspect related to the journal. So please avoid that. Look at from a standard to many deep things you need to take care of. That planning and that positioning of the paper is actually required if you want to sail through into the top tier journal. Have certain habits. And what these habits are: when you write a manuscript, please consider that there should be few takers of your manuscript. It's not necessarily that your manuscript will sail through into the first 2-3 journals that you are submitting in. It may go for rejection again and again and again and again. Happens. I'll tell you one my experience. One my paper was on emerging multinationals. I started from very top journal. This is Journal of International Business Studies. It's a A-star journal, and then I gone through to Management International Review, then went to International Marketing Review. I traveled this manuscript from certain A-star to A category journals, and was very fed up. I was like, oh my god, this paper should now get published, otherwise I'll be nowhere. What helped me out during that process was that I knew that what is the introduction going to be in my manuscript, what is the methodology that's going to be, what are the kind of result I have, and what are the kind of discussion I need to make. So always my abstract was rolled around into MIRD style, and so was the manuscript. I was acknowledging and transverting the manuscript into the journal's format where I was submitting, but at the same time, having a habit of IMRD has really helped me out in realizing how important these 4 aspects are for me.
One of the participants is asking, what is this IMRD style?
This is introduction, methodology, results, and discussion.
Thank you.
So some other common pitfall to avoid can be like, as Professor Banik has also discussed, I'll not spend much time on it, rather I'll tell you something else, is looking at the hypothesis, looking at the prepositions, looking at the measurement of the hypothesis, analytical technique that you opt for. Here, I would like to give you a hint that many of us do not pay serious attention to the methodology that we opt for. Why did I choose regression over some else technique? Why did I use qualitative over quantitative? Why I used factor analysis and not anything else? Why I choose to have demographic variables, and what is the contribution? Why? I'll give you some questions which are prominently being asked by the journals that are higher on ladder that we all of us dream to publish with. How this respondent is the adequate and right respondent for your study. What is the exercise that you did to identify that these are the right respondents? Second, what is the context that you have chosen to conduct this study? Have you taken the responses during a particular time frame? Have you taken the respondents during a particular scenario? Did you discuss with them? And all of that. And that is the reason many of the studies are coming today having different set of studies, like study 1, particular respondents, study 2, particular respondents, study 3, different respondents, and then comparing and generalizing the results by having all the 3, 4 respondents or the different responses that they have received. Is something to generalize your results, will help you out. And always, you'll have to be very careful. You should know what are the options you have. Like the manuscript that I'm talking about was a part of my PhD, and trust me, after that I never struggled to identify a journal for myself. This was my last mistake that I did, that my manuscript traveled from JIBS to IJOEM, where I actually end up publishing with. That is also, however, a good journal, but a dream journal is always it's a dream. So there you need to be very sure that the rejection is going to be very high. So do you have 20 such those manuscripts ready with you and all of the same carrier? Trust me, that becomes very, very, very difficult. What can help you out there is balancing amongst the journal, that to keep yourself motivated, to make yourself a part of the community, you really need to have some cadre of the journals. Some you have Q1, some you have Q2, some you may have Q3, because everything do not fit everywhere. So decide your audience and write for audience. Then you need to actually seek comments, and the collaboration with what I was talking about is when you read, you may assign or maybe working as a reviewer in that particular journal. And how this is going to help you out is this is going to help you out in having a two-way communication between you and the other fraternity members. When you have a two-way communication, it becomes really easy to seek comments and feedbacks. Don't be ever hesitant in asking to somebody who have experience of publishing into those journals. Don't be ever hesitant. And I could reach to a number of peoples by writing, requesting emails that I'm working on so and so topics. Can you kindly look at my manuscript? Can you please give me some feedback? Please feel free to do that. And specifically to the people who have a rich experience of publishing in that particular domain, or maybe who are considered as father of that particular paper. I'll again give you an example. See, I'm aware of myself, so I'm giving example related to me. And as I said that I'm going to discuss more the journey that how did I pick up from an infancy stage scholar to reaching there. I had a manuscript based on nostalgia, and Professor Russell Balk was one who has dramatically published in that field. He has not replied to a number of my emails, but the input that he gave me, I could actually make 2 successful manuscripts out of those. So seek comments from the people to whom you see as most contributed into that field. Also participate into the conferences, and specifically the conferences where you can have an opportunity to meet the editors where you are trying to publish. If they will give you specific feedback on your manuscript, they would remember your manuscript. And when your manuscript will go in onto their desk, they will have a little soft corner about your manuscript. I'm not saying it's a trick, but they would like to see there that whatever suggestion they have given you at that point in time, have you considered those or not? Also, when you volunteer yourself as a reviewer, then also they have a very soft corner, or they know that how rigorously you review. Do you actually have that bent of knowledge while you review or not? Do you give serious attention to the minute points in the manuscript or not? Because if you can give those attention to those pointers as a reviewer, then for sure you will take care of those points in your own manuscript. So these are the general perceptions that get developed into the mind of editors. Okay, when you are responding to reviews, reports, I mean R&R, you're responding, what becomes far more important for you is your response letter. Trust me, we have done 4 revisions for Journal of Business Research, and in all the 4 revisions we worked equally to prepare the response letter. We also got it copy edited from a native English speaker. Reason being that manuscript is important as for reader. What is that your editor and reviewers are going to read? They're going to first read your response letter, and from there they will take the perception. Also, because of their busy schedule, something is that they are looking for, and everybody is looking for convenience. So if you have a detailed version of the responses stating that there in that paragraph at that page number in this page line, I have solved it by using this technique, by doing this, that's a fabulous way of preparing a response letter. I have a suggestion here for you while you prepare your response letter. This is that always make your response letter into 2 sections. The first section must represent to the common suggestions given by the reviewers. I'm sure that when something go right into a manuscript, this is right for everyone. If generally it is right, both or all the reviewer will say this is right. If something is really critical into the manuscript, both the reviewers or all the reviewers will say this is something I would like you to explain on. There you have a chance to sell your study through the response letter. In the common suggestions, write that all the reviewers had observation on these 2, 3, 4 pointers, and this is how we address this. And then into the detailed response, have all the responses one by one, reviewer 1, reviewer 2, reviewer n, in a chronological order with all the questions that they are asking for. And that really helps. Editors also open your cover letters, don't take them casually. They also open your response letters and they read them. And then they see that whatever changes you have claimed, have you actually done that or not? And how you have done that. Because they give R&R, they have a feeling that now I have taken a general feel of the manuscript, now I have read the manuscript. So altogether going for all the manuscript, suck up their time and effort. Therefore, response letter become very important. Give a due consideration to that. You need to give detailed reply, as I said, constructive reviews, feedback that you like to give. And second is you need to become a reviewer. Volunteer to be a reviewer. It's a volunteer job. And if you help to a scientific journal or the community, then it means somebody who will read your manuscript is also doing your part of job. So therefore collaborate, help the scientific journals to become a reviewer. When you have a rejection, mind it, you're not the one. Editor themselves also have a lot of rejections. I also take a lot of rejections, even though, like I just mentioned, that my study from JIBS to IJOEM, this is International Journal of Emerging Markets, I had approximately 4 rejections. So that's there. You need to actually What you need to take care is, as I said, that these journals, and specifically when you're targeting the core stream journal, they use common reviewers. Somebody who has reviewed your manuscript into the X journal, there is a very high probability that the reviewer can be assigned into the Y journal too. And what the reviewer hate then, and I think that was the same thing that had happened with my paper when when I submitted into JIPS and when I submitted into the management of international research. They do not like if you have not considered your suggestions. Most of us, what we do is same way we structure the manuscript and we submit it somewhere else. Imagine if this reaches to the same reviewer. It's going to be disaster. So please do take their suggestion, incorporate them, and then submit. Take a break if you are not able to do it that way. That time, take a break, 3-4 days, revise it. After a week, resubmit it. And it's a very small academic community. You really need to take care of what the bucket of the journals you kept, and you need to be very serious, and you need to make them realize that you're a part of the community. If you cannot make them realize that you are not a part of the community, you'll not sail through. And that is the reason there somebody who publishes keep on publishing, and somebody who keep on struggling. Once you will have a recognition as a citizen there, trust me, you'll enjoy it. But you'll have to give a little bit of effort to have that recognition there. You'll have to really develop a thick skin when it comes to rejection. It's pinchish, but you need to train yourself. Because let me tell you, what is the reviewer's job? The reviewer's job is to critically evaluate the manuscript. If suppose we assign a manuscript to a reviewer, what do we want from the reviewer? We want reviewers to tell us the mistakes in the manuscript. Do we really want manuscript reviewers to talk about only the good things about the manuscript? No. We want them to give it a critical look. So you really do not need to take it personally. What you need is you need to take them in a constructive way. That's how do you respond to these. And once you get yourself trained on how do you respond to it, will something that will not only make you positive, will also make you to understand different mindsets in the common firm and the community where you are looking for to become a citizen. So understanding those reviewers mindset is very important. You need to be persistent. Again and again, same job. One manuscript sailed through, the second is ready. Second sailed through, third is ready. One get failed. One you are celebrating with. But what really help is collaboration, and especially with experienced scholars. Sometimes a few comments from them side can really make your manuscript sail through. Don't lose out on that. Let me discuss some influencing research areas that what is coming up into the scientific journals nowadays. There are 3 kind of schools going on right now. One is those people who are picking the traditional concepts like resource-based, RBT, resource-based theory, or the dynamic capabilities or dynamic organizations and organizational theories. I'll give you one simple example. As I said that I'm not very good into methodologies, I could not do much onto the empirical, but what we did for our JBR publication is we combined 2 different theories. Considering one argument given by Ocasio into the Strategic Management Journal and then Utila, we combine both of these. We then said that how when these 2 theories come together, what will be the impact? Second, you need to pick up the contemporary practices. Augmented reality that everybody is talking about today. Internet of Things is everybody talking about today. Human augmentation or COVID-19 in today's era, or global value chain, or impulse. I mean, certain those things which are very, very contemporary in your domain, in your area. Is that something you need to pick on? But there you'll have to prove your views. In earlier, what you'll have to prove is your knowledge, your wisdom. In the second one, you'll have to prove them by having a little bit of methodological rigor. Then it comes that you combine the cross functional domains, knowledge from different functions. Like one recent that I was working on is psychology and marketing. Psychology concepts were very much there in the marketing when it comes to understanding the consumer behavior or consumer impulse or their buying behavior or perceptions, attitude, whatnot. But psychology in a particular concept and theory in marketing was something that was lagging behind. So what I did is I clubbed it with one of the contemporary topic when the Nestle Maggie case happened and they came back based on nostalgia, my bounced mind. That's, oh, that is something really important that I can work on. And then I used the psychology theory through nostalgia for consumer behavior. Guess what? I sailed through into the Journal of Promotion Management. And the second one is at a very advanced stage in the Journal of Academy of Marketing Science. So when you combine certain cross-functional domains and you bring out something that this is how it look like, is something that really impress not only to the editors or reviewers, to the readers too. So try to either pick up a traditional area for which you really need to have in-depth knowledge. If suppose you want to work for organizational theories and strategic theories, you need to have a good understanding of both of them. You cannot do that in, if you have a blurred understanding, you cannot do that. But if you have better understanding, you can do that. But if you are experiencing new things, then it's better to have something which is ongoing in your domain. Maybe like why digital organizations behaving in such a way, why they are collaborating with each other, what happened when a third party come, why mergers and acquisitions are not working that way. So why a particular B2B client is talking that way. I mean, there something contemporary will really help you out. My best wishes, and I wish all of you will have good publications. Open for your questions.
Thank you so much, Professor Rana. Indeed, I must agree, and many of our participants also have written their comments in the chat box. Indeed, very valuable insights given by you. There are a few questions in the chat box, but before I go to the question, let me share the results with all of you in terms of the polling which was done. And in the audience, there are around 47% are academicians, 46% are scholars, 7% are students, and 6% say that they are keen researchers. As far as the issues related to how has COVID affected them on the research front, they say that around 23% say it is due to the pressure of publication by institution, 18% say there is a fear on the job front, 21% say because of the lack of e-resources to access database, 63% agree that it's a good time to utilize and focus on research, 12% say that it is a bad time to focus on research, and 4% do not agree with anything. And the third question was pertinent, that how much has this workshop been helpful to you in reaching your goal ahead? More than 86% they agree that it has helped us to a greater extent. So thank you, audience, for your polls. Now over to you for your questions. You can ask your questions to both of our resources. One by one, you can ask the question, you can unmute yourself, and you can take up the questions.
Very good evening, sir.
Yeah, just one thing. Will be better if you'll state to whom you are asking the question, or maybe
Okay,
keeping it open.
Okay, good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Selvaraj from Tamil Nadu. Am I audible, sir?
Yes.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yes, sir. Okay, very good, sir. Actually, both resource persons have done very good effort, very good speech, no word to appreciation. At the same time,
Thank you.
okay, thank you, sir. Welcome, sir. At the same time, I would like to ask two questions. One question, as a researcher, how can I do, or how can I publish more number of papers to get H index? One question. Second question is, I am the chief editor and what you call editor board members of the more than 20 journals. I used to get the number of articles and I used to review and I used to send back as no way is eligible to publication. But the very next day, that article has been published. So, in where actually this mistake is being happening, where about the ethical nature of the publishers? If you don't mind, please try to give some tips, sir. Are you clear with my question, sir? No clear.
If I am what you are perhaps trying to say, one, trying to find out high H factor impacted journal one, how to find out, right?
Okay, sir.
And second, what you have actually mentioned when you submit a paper, then
No, I'm not submit papers. I am the reviewer. I am the senior most professors. I used to review the number of articles.
okay,
According to my best of research knowledge, the paper no way eligible to publication.
okay,
But very next day, that paper, the number of papers have been published by the publishers.
So can I answer his question?
Welcome, sir. Thank you, sir.
The journals have a practice to inform reviewers the outcome of the manuscript. What the good journals, specifically the top tier category journals, do is they keep reviewers in the loop. Whatever decision come, they inform to the reviewer with comments of other reviewers too. So if that happened, probably that doesn't happen with the good journals. That's one my hinge.
But just before that, I am just intervening here. Most of the journals actually have the procedure of a form. You are giving a declaration that you have not submitted anywhere. If you see some of the top Indian journal in particular, there is a form available you download when the author is submitting a paper. He is giving a declaration that I have not submitted anywhere. On that condition, the editor-in-chief will be happy to see the paper, whether it will be going for further review or not. I do not understand which journal you are actually mentioning in this particular case.
Sorry, sir. I have list 15 to 20, sir. It's not right for him to highlight, sir.
Okay.
So don't mistake, sir. But I have list. If you are so particular, I shall be so glad to send your mail.
You are quite right. What I'm trying to say, there is a practice. Top journals around the globe, you are giving a declaration. Basically, everything is on online now. You are giving a declaration that I have not submitted the paper in any journals. You are giving a declaration. What you have said, one may violate that condition. Then what will happen that if journal immediately publishing and the second journal is accepting it, then there may be legal implications because you have declared that you have not submitted it anywhere. On that condition, journal editor has actually accepted to review the paper. That's the legal things. If it is published next day, it's a legal problem. I have a feeling the good journals perhaps will not follow this practice.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
And second thing, H index journals, as I said, H is applied to a journals and H is also applied to an individual author. I have explained what is H index. If it is giving you 20 value or 150 value, that means if a journal, how many times it is actually cited 150 times. That's journal. If you talk about that author's article, that particular article actually cited more than. Now, Dr. Rana has rightly mentioned the strategy. Are you going for H factor? Is that criteria? Are you going for the impact factor of that journal? Is that criteria? Depending on your strategy, what as he has rightly mentioned, as a proxy, these indexes or indices are actually quality, as a proxy of quality. If your strategy is actually highly impact factor or H index or schemago index, is purely depend on your strategy. As Rana has rightly mentioned, at the initial stage, a young researcher, if he or she is serious about the promotion, increments, or something like that, then take a strategy, some reasonably good journal, say Q2 journals, not Q3, I will not recommend for Q3, say Q2 journals or Q1 journals. If the H factor is even 20, 20, 25, go ahead with that. So that you have reasonable promotion or incentives or increments, all kinds of things at the young stage. As you are going maturing, perhaps you may have the different strategy.
Yes, thank
Okay,
you, sir.
Professor. Thank you, Professor. Thank you.
Good evening, sir. This is Dr. Preeti Sharma from Amity University. Actually, I have two questions. One is when we go through sales track, there is a portion where we have to submit our cover letter. So anything is not defined about cover letter, about the length and what should be the exactly what should be mentioned in cover letter one. And
I think Professor Rana has already mentioned about this in his presentation.
Not the content of cover letter, ma'am. It was just the cover letter should be there, but what should be the content and how much should be the length, it was not talked about. And my second question is, when we submit the paper, we are asked about ORCID ID as well. So is there any impact of author's profile in accepting the paper while you accept the paper as an editor? So
you are asking this question to Dr. Rana, to me.
Sir, both, because since you both are editors in sales.
Rana, you want to take it?
Our CID number is your identity.
I'll take it. I'll take it. So, hi, Dr. Preeti. Thank you for highlighting this question. Let me tell you that cover letter is just like any other letter. You're just covering your manuscript. What you should highlight into the cover letter is, dear editor, so and so journal, this is my manuscript. About this has been done. We are the authors. That's all. That should be enough into the cover letter. You need not anything else which should be highlighted into the cover letter. Second, the ORCID ID is really important, and specifically when you are talking about the good journals. They really don't have time to waste in reading number of manuscripts that are coming to them. So something which came from the authentic source, like we want to read the authentic source. They also like to host the research from authentic scholars. So that ORCID ID is authenticity of your scholarly work. Therefore, it is very important. Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Any question?
Good evening, sir.
So, hello.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, here is Professor Mohammed Zahir.
I am from Bangladesh. Dr. Sudhir Rana, thank you. I know you.
Thank you, sir.
Professor Arindam, you are very much experienced and like our father-like professor.
Hello.
I am a professor of marketing, Jagannath University, Bangladesh. Okay. I am a marketing faculty member, and I know about the Sudhir Rana by his work. Wonderful presentation today. I know few earlier from the different experience and through the online, but our various audience are here. I have raised the a few questions in your inbox so that I should not I should avoid my question to the audience. But I can ask one by one but you can memorize. I know answer few of them, but for other audience, it should be clear by you. Your word is actually the precise word. First question is, or opinion is that should we not try to publish only in journals of various universities, institutes, research societies, associations, professional bodies, reputed publishers of the world, to avoid the predatory journal asking for money or fake review process without giving review comments to the authors? This is one. Second is always impact factor matter? If the paper is good quality, maintaining the scientific process with logical justification. Lots of predatory or fake journal asking money from the Indian publisher, don't mind, and also in other different countries. Bangladesh is behind that without any identification properly. Then why many so-called journals are money earning, commercial oriented, and why is this recognized by academic scholars? Is it ethical or unethical? Then publishers should be university, school, college, reviewed by peer scholars, and quality paper written by the authors following research methodology with justification. Then rejection and money like commercial payment system should be prohibited by a scholars movement like consumers movement. Why many so-called, then finally is that what will be the fate and the future of the university, institute and college journals, those have no indexing like Scopus? This is the overall scenario in the context of subcontinent that we know. The developed countries, they are developing and following the different perspective like Emerald and other
Professor, can we take up one by one because so many girls and we are yet to cover up our time.
Already given the various ideas, but you can focus on this. What will be the fate of our university and college journals of India and Bangladesh and other countries? We are in the next position. This is the challenge for us because they are money making. $1,700 or $2,000 is needed for the transfer journals, and authors are sharing, and authors are doing also the malpractice with the contribution, giving the money, the name, in the name of profession, what we are doing actually. Please, sir.
Acha, Shikta, I want to take it.
Yes, sir. Over to you.
Okay.
Over to you.
Okay. Thank you, Professor, for taking these interesting questions. Now, actually, when you are deciding to publish, the strategy my colleague Rana has excellently mentioned everything. Now choosing the journal, money, predatory, and all things. Now, the kind of journals we have mentioned in the Indian context, in the global context, they are not actually asking to deposit money for that. Yes. Kind of journal we have mentioned. Now, to find an most appropriate journal, we have explained, we have the benchmark. You have also argued that why our institution-based journals are not popular. In old days, Indian context, Indian Economic Review was considered the most prestigious journal. Economic and Political Review was also considered most prestigious journals. Journal of Quantitative Economics was also considered as the most prestigious journal. IIM Ahmedabad Journal, Bikalpa, was considered also prestigious journal. These are all institution, university affiliated journals. Try to understand the background of those journals. They are publishing good articles. But then, in the process, they became irregular. When you're writing a paper, hello? When you are actually writing or when submitting your paper, if you recall, I can mention the names, Indian Economic Review or Economic and Political Review, you have to wait years together.
Yes. EPW.
Nobody even respond to your queries, something like that. And in the process, if they are not popular because of certain factors, but then market mechanism, I call market mechanism, the index listing journals, indexing has given you a different dimension. And you must appreciate any journals which is listed in Scopus, which is listed in Web of Science. I'm 100% sure if they are listed, they'll not asking money from you that you put deposit, these are the review costs. They'll not asking. So problem is it's actually asymmetric information. You have to choose which, and my colleague Rana has rightly mentioned, you find out a choice. What is your choice? Go to the Schemago site, find out the Scopus listed journal. If you have the access, I have mentioned that the Web of Science listed journals are not generally acceptable. In a sense, accessible. In a sense, they are membership based. Yes, they are making money. I agree. But then other three kind ABDC, you consider ABDC, you consider Scopus, you can Norwegian journal, ABS system, they are open access. You can easily find out journals which are at a highly qualified journal. We have the H factor and other things. And you should understand now in recent time, Bikolpa finally decided, let's go not publish on our own, go to SAIS and they will market and sell the product. And Bikolpa's impact factor according to Schemago, as on today, perhaps 11 or 0.11 or 0.20, something like that. EPWO, impact factor maybe 0.4041, something like that. But they have realized now that if we are going to the competitive, they have realized now that go for this kind of indexing thing, listing thing, otherwise nobody will submit their paper. So by market mechanism, they are actually, if they are eliminated from the market mechanism, you cannot help it. But try to understand in the process, you have mentioned subcontinent, quality of articles are now coming out. Yes. Good articles are coming out. Good journals are coming out. They are young fellows. They are working very hard for their journals, and they are not university or institution sponsored. I am giving, Sudhir has mentioned his own journal. GBR, for example, we do not pay anything to SAIS. SAIS has actually marketed the GBR, and revenue, I should not share, is not a public information, but revenue is one of the top 2 journals in India in the revenue. But as I said, this is also institution journal, but then it was given to SAIS. IMI is actually providing the knowledge, and SAIS is actually marketing that product. Symbiotic collaboration. So perhaps we must realize it, that the new scenarios actually, and that scenario is actually help us a lot. So for young researchers are concerned.
Thank you so much, sir. We are, it has already been touching 8 o'clock. It's a much hated discussion going on. There will be so many queries around.
Thanks, sir.
So we can take up those questions in the mailbox. You can mail me. Okay. So thank you, participants. Thank you for participating for all across every state, every corner of India. So, so once again, I would like to thank Professor Arindam Banik and Professor Sudhir Rana for taking up their valuable time. Thank you. I'm really honored and privileged, sir, that both of you could spare out of your busy schedule taking a time of more than 2 hours. It's really, I'm really very grateful to both of you. And the insights which you have given us, I am 101% sure that it has benefited many of our participants who are here. At least their radarless journey is now at least showing a radar. They have a direction where to go through if they had any state of confusion by far. Thank you. I hope you were with me. I could have shared a small honorarium from our memento from our School of Management, KIIT University, but I will be definitely sending you through mail. It's a token of small gesture from our side. for the kind of effort and for the kind of delivery which you have done. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your honorable guidance and for your presence, though in a virtual mode. But I and my faculty members, they would be really, really happy to see you in the campus very soon. I hope that this COVID effect is somehow passes or disappears and we can see you in our campus. I also invite all the participants to come forward to join us in our campus. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable inputs. Thank you once again. I end up this meeting. With that,
Thank you so much, Dr. Shikta. Professor Banik, it was really pleasure to be here in the panel and sharing my experiences. Thank you so much to the audience.
Thank you,
Enjoy,
sir.
keep on learning, working, doing. That is the only thing that make us sail through
And
any condition.
Thanks.
we should also thankful to KIIT again, that creating them a beautiful platform for us to generate or create the new researchers with new knowledge. I'm sure the name of the KIIT, people know it, is a different institutes from the Indian context. And I'm sure with the help of this kind of knowledge, it will further create eminence in their own field. Thank you very much.
thank you so much, sir. Thank you so
Thank
much
you.
for your valuable time.